Hey, what's going on, guys? This is AndrewChicken, and welcome back to another video. Today, I want to do another discussion type of video, kind of like the one we did the other day about Androxus, where we talk about VII, because VII is a very interesting champion at the moment. He's got a lot of things that are really strong. He's got a meta playstyle that is absolutely absurd, but then he's also got a lot of things that are just really strange and or weak about him, like the overcharge talent. We don't talk about the overcharge talent. But first of all, let's talk about what's so annoying about VII at the moment, because a lot of people find this champion to be irritating to fight against. So why exactly is that? Well,
going dark.
That's one reason. He has the ability to displace people, not just with the grapple, with those bombs. They knock people back a little bit, and it's just enough that it can throw off your aim and make you feel like you're not really in control of your movements. And you can do something like this, where you just grapple them around, and actually sometimes the grapple doesn't grapple them that far at all, like that time it barely grappled him, but if we let him heal up a little bit, well, now he goes really far, and so it's just inconsistent as well. Each time you get grappled, you don't really know where it's going to send you. And of course, another problem about the grapple is, well, it's got 2 charges, and you can reset those charges just by using your dodge roll. Like this. Boom, we got another one. And you reset the cooldown of the dodge roll off the grapple. And with Chronos 3, it just reaches the point of absurdity, where you can literally fly like this. And then 2, 1, oh, there we go, we get another grapple, and then we get another roll, and then we get another grapple, and then we got another roll, and he is literally more mobile than every champion in the game by a mile. He can run laps around the most mobile champion, and for considerably less effort. Some champions like Eevee can get absolutely crazy cooldown reset, but it involves getting eliminations. It's like with Eevee, you know, you could kill the Vic, and then you get Soar reset, and so you can go Soar to another person and then just chain the process. She's very good at snowballing for that reason, but even still, she's not as mobile as VII, and the only, well, really inhibiting factor to VII is that you have to run cards that specifically reduce the cooldown of your movement abilities when you use your movement abilities. But there's no skill in using your movement ability. You just point and press the button, and then you do this, and then you do this, and then you do this, and you're literally just pressing buttons, alternating. You know, one button, then the other, then the other, then the other, da. So yeah, you can't really catch him unless you cripple him. Of course, there are some hard counters to VII that are the same for any other champion that is hypermobile. You could run Power Cosmium Genos, you could run Nullify Torvald, especially with Direct Current, that'll really hard counter him, or you can just have good aim and play someone like Grover, and that'll cripple them. But of course, there's Rizzo to counter that, and once you get Rizzo 3, well, he's back up to just spamming this like an absolute mad lad. So, yeah, there's crazy displacement, there's crazy mobility, but also, well, there's crazy burst. He can 2-shot if he lands headshots with burst mode, and he can just put bombs down, do a grapple like that, and I don't even need to shoot my gun more than once. So, yeah, he can kill way faster than like Maeve, Eevee, and Vatu can even dream of. I mean, Vatu's got a pretty good burst combo, but Vatu, well, he can only use it once every like 8 seconds because it has, you know, it has a pretty lengthy cooldown. Whereas VII, because his mobility also doubles his damage, he can reset these damage tools and these displacement tools like this, all while having one of the best weapons in the flank category. You don't even need to use automatic mode or mag dump mode. Mag dump mode used to be crazy on release, and it can still do this, but like even with that one headshot there, we're not one-shotting. So mag dump playstyle is kind of just gone. And automatic mode is good. Honestly, probably his most balanced mode because it can kill things very well. He's not like super bursty, but it's not weak either. You know, and then they're nerfing it next patch for some reason. But burst mode, I mean, it's got great range, and yeah, you can 3-shot very reliably with it. And if you're lucky and or skillful, yeah, you can 2-shot with it, just like that. And like even at this range, well, I'm still doing actually full damage, which is crazy. It's absurd. This flank has like almost unparalleled poke. The only one who really has better poke than him arguably is Maeve, just because she doesn't have follow-up, but even then there's projectile, and also it doesn't do nearly as much burst. So yeah, there's displacement, there's burst, there's unparalleled mobility. And all of this comes from a few key factors. So first of all, spring-loaded. This decreases the cooldown of your explosive dodge by 35%. Very helpful. Increases the range of explosive dodge by 25%. Very helpful. Gives you bombs, not just where you take off from, but where you land. So you can use them offensively. So you can, you know, do this. We have bombs there, and then we can yoink them into this set of bombs. And almost all of the damage was done with the bombs and the grapple. So yeah, spring-loaded, very, very good. And then you combine it with these two cards, Latch and Fire and the Knight. Both of these have it so where you reduce the cooldown of your grappling hook and or explosive dodge by 3 seconds after using the reverse ability. So grappling hook resets explosive dodge, and explosive dodge resets grappling hook. And they just chain off each other. No other flank has this dynamic. Every other flank either has to hit shots or has to get an elimination in order to get their cooldown reset. Eevee has to get it on Elim. Used to be on kill, so it was actually way more skillful. Maeve, same thing. If you run Rogue's Gambit, you need to get an elimination. Vatu, you need to hit your shots. VII doesn't need to do any of that. He puts in 0 effort. He just has to use the abilities. And that requires no skill. My grandma could do that. No offense, grandma, but, you know, she's like 90, so video games aren't exactly her strong suit. Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. And those 3 things, right, those 2 cards and that 1 talent are what's busted. Like, busted right now. Apart from also arguably the burst mode damage, you could argue that the burst mode buff could be reverted. Right, you could maybe argue for that too. But those cards are crazy. And so what I'm thinking is, at the very least, they should add an internal cooldown to these cards. So that way, you can still have very good mobility. And you get 1 reset per card, and then you probably have to wait, like, I would say at least 5 seconds before you can use the card again. I think that would be fair. So you can still do this sort of crazy mobility nonsense, but eventually there's a limit to it where you're just stuck. You don't have mobility for a few seconds. Because currently with Chronos 3, there is no downtime. Like, as long as you don't press the buttons, like, immediately one after the other, you can keep this up indefinitely, and the most downtime you have is like 2 seconds. Which is not a lot of time. So having a little bit more downtime like that would make it feel like VII is not just this impossible varmint who's incapable of being caught. I think that would be good. Alternatively, you could get rid of a cooldown of, you could get rid of a charge of grapple. This would solve 2 things. First of all, it'd make mobility a lot less spammable. You'd honestly probably still have this problem of just infinite mobility, but it would be a little bit less infinite. But then also you would have fewer cases of getting grappled. Like, you know, you can do this. I've got 2 grapples now, so I can grapple him once, and then I can grapple him again, and it actually just killed him there, but if it didn't kill him, then it would pull him into me even further, and he just wouldn't be in control of his own movements, especially if he was also getting blown up by bombs during that time. So just getting rid of that would be nice, because the type of displacement that VII has is just not fun to play against. Part of it is because it's spammable, and part of it is just because, yeah, it's inconsistent. Especially, like, if you're getting pulled by the bombs there, like, it didn't really pull him at all. But sometimes it pulls him for an extreme amount of distance, and I believe also, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Terror also increases how far it pulls an enemy, as well as how far it pulls, you know, VII. So yeah, there's that as well, just that variability to it. It's much less consistent, and there's not a lot of counterplay. Like, you can buy Resilience, of course, and that'll help. But it's still just not enjoyable to play against compared to a lot of other knockbacks and stuff in the game. Cassie's Disengage is, well, it's a knockback. It's actually very consistent in when it knocks you back, or, you know, how far it knocks you back, rather. And yeah, you just cannot spam that out. It's once every, like, 7 seconds or something like that. I forget the cooldown. Makoa's Hook. Well, not only does Makoa not have really any mobility, like, he has a dash, but he doesn't have anything even close to 7. But it's very easy to read. Like, if he's gonna hook you, you know he's gonna be, like, walking towards you, looking like you, you know, looking at you like this, like, ooh, I'm gonna get you, I'm gonna get you. And it has an extraordinary cooldown. And every single time he hooks you, it pulls you directly next to him, and you know what's going on, right? You know how to counterplay that. You can actually bait out Makoa hooks and read them. With 7, there is none of that. Especially because if you try and bait out a 7 hook, and you successfully bait it out, well, he has another charge of it, so you can just do that. So I think getting rid of a charge of grapple could be nice. Alternatively, you could just get rid of the displacement. I think part of the reason why VII's grapple is allowed to grapple enemies in the first place is to separate it and differentiate it from Vora and Grover's Tendril. Because, of course, Vora has 2 charges of her Tendril. Hers gives her a lot of momentum and doesn't have Vine Tech. Grover's Vine has Vine Tech. And so they wanted to give VII something different. But VII already has something different. Oh, well, that's a bad example. There we go. He can do this. He can go invisible and latch to a wall and literally just ambush somebody like that. So that's already enough to differentiate it. You don't need to do this, right? Because honestly, I think that's one of the biggest things that's just not fun about him. Like, yeah, the bombs, you know, it might not feel good to get blown up or whatever. But, yeah, I think nothing's more irritating than just having him pull you into a set of bombs, and then maybe pull you into another set of bombs. All while darting around you like a madman. It's just... It's not fun. So, like, basically to summarize, what I think could be done about him, you could do a number of different things. You could add internal cooldowns to the cards, you could get rid of a charge of grapple, or you could get rid of the displacement on the grapple. You could get rid of doing that. All of that, I think, would be good, but I don't think you should do, like, necessarily all of those changes all at once, because we don't want to kill VII. We don't want to make him a bad character, obviously. I want every character in this game to be viable. I don't want anyone to be too strong, I don't want anyone to be too weak. So, if you were to do, like, a combination of those factors, then you have to do it, like, in moderation, right? You have to be careful about it. Because, like, if we're going to get rid of a cooldown, or if we're going to get rid of a charge of his grapple, like, well, and then we also get rid of the displacement, and then we also add the internal cooldowns, he's going to feel, like, super weak. So, like, what you could do is just get rid of the displacement, add some internal cooldowns, and then we're good. He can still fly around like this, but eventually he's going to have to cool down for, like, a few seconds. And he'll still have the burst of, like, hey, let me roll into you and shoot you with burst mode and do this. But he's not going to be able to pull you into those bombs. And so I think he'd feel a lot more fun to play against at that point, while still having the thrill of bursting someone down and then zooming around the map like crazy. And of course, again, the zooming still gets countered by cripples and Torvald and, you know, all that stuff. And then, yeah, just some slight tone downs on, like, burst mode as well. Like, automatic mode is getting nerfed next patch, but I don't really understand why, because this is, like... This is the crazy gun mode right now. Like, look at that. 2 shots, and you don't even need to hit majority headshots. Like, there we go. That's it. Boom. There we go. 2 shot. For a flank, that's crazy, especially at this range. Like, I can still do that at this range. Just nuts. In terms of the ult, because honestly we haven't talked about the ult at all, I think the ult is fine. Like, I think the cast time is pretty good. I think it's in a good spot. It's not too slow. It's not too fast either. On release, it was too slow, and now I think it's in a, you know, a nice spot. I think it's in a sort of Goldilocks zone, if you will. It does have some counterplay options. Obviously, you could, like, use your own sort of immune abilities. Like, you could use Evora Obliterate, or you could use Atlas Rewind, or something like that to try and dodge it and just time it with him. And I think that is sort of, you know, fun to play against. It's kind of like the same idea of, like, trying to dodge a Mako hook that you know is coming. So I think that's cool. And honestly, I don't have a single complaint about the ult right now, aside from it sometimes being a little bit wonky to play against. But honestly, I think part of that is just bad timing on, like, me using my defensive skills or something like that. But then what about his other talents? Because Spring Loaded is his most popular talent right now beyond a shadow of a doubt. But what about the other talents? Well, Tribunal Upgrades is honestly, like, it's not horrible. Like, with Burst Mode, well, I think you can actually reliably 2-shot. Oh, it's so close to a reliable 2-shot. It gives it that little bit of extra damage, which is already insane damage to begin with, so that's nice. For Mag Dump, you get the fire.
Tactical change.
Still not a 1-shot, though. Maybe you could buff the damage on that, I don't know. And then automatic mode, I don't know if the cold, like, slow actually works. Because, honestly, no one uses automatic mode, no one uses Tribunal Upgrades. So finding someone using Tribunal Upgrades also hitting me with automatic mode, it never happens. But whenever I play that, it just doesn't feel like the slow is very impactful. So you could do some number tweaks there, but honestly, I really love the idea of the talent. It's still one of my favorite ideas for a talent. Like, if you're going to give someone 3 different weapon types, having each of them have some sort of situational elemental thing, I think it's pretty cool, honestly. But yeah, just some slight tweaks there could be nice. And then Overcharged. This talent, there's no reason to use this talent. This is another problem with VII. So he has Spring Loaded and that playstyle, which is obviously infuriating to play against these days. But then you have this talent, which is the exact opposite. It's so bad that if you're playing VII with this talent, it feels like you're throwing. Look at this. Yay! I did an 1100 AoE burst after a few seconds. You want to see me kill him faster than that? There we go. I wasn't even in burst mode. I meant to use burst mode there. Like, whoa! Why use my ultimate when I can do this already? So, this ultimate needs to go faster, first of all. I think that's the first thing. Like, it needs to just charge faster. So, let me head over here so we can get, like, better ultimates. Oh, what? Ah, shooting range being weird. Yeah. Like, I think that's a little bit slower than his Fear, if I recall correctly. It is still much faster than it used to be, But, like, for an 1100 burst, I just don't feel like it's, you know, the craziest thing. It's like you're using a Leonold, but without the Pierce, and a little bit less bursty because, you know, the burst is only 1100, and without the crowd control immunity and the damage resistance, it's just like, it feels super weak. So either this talent should just flat out be reworked, or you should buff it. Like, maybe make it do more damage, or make him damage, you know, resistant while using it, or something. Because why do that, again, when I can do this? It's literally just better. So, yeah, that's a thing. And then also we can talk about his different playstyles, because he has a lot of actual, you know, interesting playstyle diversity. But everyone uses Latch and Fire in the Night right now because it's kind of the only strong build. So you could run something like this. I haven't run this in ages, and honestly I think the cards got tweaked a little bit so it's outdated. But the idea is you would use Red Room, go in automatic mode, and you'd be really fast and just run around. But why use that when you could use mobility spam? Like, 20% is cool, but it's not like the craziest mobility in the world. A lot of champions can get faster mobility. And of course you buy Nimble 3 and you stack it like that, and then you're, you know, you're running around zooming. But again, mobility spam is just better. And then of course there's the infamous Spider-Man build, where you can go up, latch to a wall, and you have 50% damage reduction, and you just kind of sit here and shoot. And it's, you know, a pretty cool idea in theory. You just never touch the ground, you know, you just stay up here. Oh my gosh. Dude, the walls in the shooting range suck. Let me grapple to it. There we go. But yeah, you would just, like, stay up here, you would shoot, and of course with burst mode now being crazy, like, you know, the damage is good. And this is a really fun concept. However, because you're completely stationary on the wall, you know, it's very easy to shoot you. But with the 50% damage reduction, you know, it kind of cancels out. But also, a lot of wall collisions in this game suck, especially on certain maps like Frog Isle. Like, you just won't even be able to use this build there. And then also there's the issue of, if VII even gets tickled by a single Drogo's rocket, he's getting knocked off the wall. Like, there's a difference between this, and I think Void Grip would be a good comparison. It's like Void Grip, it roots someone in place, right? They're stuck in the sky. They can be knocked out of it, actually, by something like an Ashe knockback, you know? She uses Kinetic Burst, and you're out of the Void Grip. But if you get shot by a Drogo's rocket, or Eevee's Ice Staff, or anything like that, you're still going to stay in the Void Grip. However, with VII, if you get knocked by Kinetic Burst, yeah, you're off the wall. But also if you get hit by a Drogo's rocket or an Eevee Ice Staff, you're off the wall. And so I think it would be, you know, a serious buff to this playstyle in general, just to make it so he doesn't get knocked off the wall so easily. Make it so that regular knockbacks, like, well heck, even to use the example of an enemy 7, you know, that type of grapple, let that grapple him off the wall, but don't let just a basic explosion knock him off the wall. I think that would be fair enough. And it would make this playstyle, again, let me show the build real quick. It would make this playstyle just so much more fun, and it would make it actually much more viable. Because I can't play this build against any blaster. And there are quite a lot of blast weapons in this game. I mean, there are 5 blasters alone in the damage class. So, yeah, there's not a lot of times where you can use this between the maps and between the matchups. So yeah, in summary, VII is a very poorly balanced character. He's got one build that is extraordinarily strong. Spring-loaded mobility spam. It's crazy. He can get infinite mobility for basically no effort. He has extraordinary bursts, and he has that displacement that's not fun to play against at all. However, he also has a talent that is arguably one of the worst in the game, if not the worst in the game, and it's basically just not a playstyle. And he has other playstyles in different builds that are really cool concepts, but they simply aren't very good. And of course, while his base damage now is, like, absurd, like, you can play any of these talents and still have a very good gun and do good damage that way, it's still just like, man, why would I ever play Spider-Man when I could play mobility spam? Why would I ever use Red Room and run around, you know, even if I want to just be a cool runner-gunner, when I can just go mobility spam with spring-loaded and do this? Why would I ever play Tribunal upgrades when I could go spring-loaded? Because ultimately the damage from the bombs there is just better than anything I get from Tribunal upgrades. Like, it's all just a mess. And so I'd like to see internal cooldowns on the mobility cards and the displacement removed. I think is ultimately what I would do if I was in charge. Because the displacement on the grapple like this, it's really not something he needs. And it's not fun to play against either. It would make him feel a lot more fun and fair to fight, but he would still have crazy mobility. He would just have to take, you know, a period of time to catch a breather. And he would still have really good damage. And also, again, I would slightly tone down burst mode. Like, slightly, you know. Because we don't want his gun to feel ineffective. But I think it's a tiny bit over at the moment. Just a tiny bit. And then, of course, we would need to find a way to either rework or buff Overcharge. And I don't have too many super good ideas about how to do that. Like I said, maybe you could just buff the damage, or maybe you could give him some damage reduction on it or something. But the Overcharge talent is just not good. I don't think anyone's going to argue that it is good. And so something needs to be done to change that. And if you have any ideas, please let me know in the comments. And then Tribunal upgrades, I mean, honestly, I'd like to see just small tweaks to the numbers. Just make it a little bit better, you know. Like, maybe he should be able to two-shot with Tribunal upgrades. Yeah, probably not. But, like, you know, just something interesting to that talent to make it, you know, just a little bit better. Just some small tweaks. Because it's a really cool concept for a talent. Like, honestly, props to whoever thought it up. It's just, with the current numbers and with the current meta of 7, it's just kind of fallen behind spring-loaded. And yeah, also, I mean, maybe you could buff Mag Dump again. Like, just a smidge. I'm also scared to suggest that buff. Because, like, I remember what it was like on release to play against Mag Dump spammers, and it was just so not fun. It's such a tricky mode to balance, because if it's too strong, then it'll literally one-shot people. But if it's too weak, like this, and there's just no point to use it. And the automatic mode, I mean, automatic mode is chill. I got no problems with it. It's fun to use if you don't feel like using burst mode, or if you just want like shred a tank or something. I mean, it's there. So, but yeah, as always with these types of discussion videos, I mean, let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you think I'm off base, if I'm wrong, what you agree with, what you disagree with, and leave your thoughts about 7 down below, because I would love to hear what you think. I would love to hear what you think about balance ideas, and just how much fun you think the character is to play against, how much fun you think he is to play. I think he's very fun to play. Like, in his current state, obviously, it's super fun to fly around the map and, you know, kill things. You feel awesome, but a champion has to be both fun to play as and fun to play against. And sometimes it feels like you just forget about the against part. So, I would like to have him be fun for everyone, you know? I would like to see a 7 on the enemy team to be like, oh, this will be fun! We can counterplay each other and, you know, just have a good old time and not feel frustrated. But then also I can play 7 and be like, alright, I'm going to pick this character, I'm going to try my best, and you know what? With a little bit of skill, I'm going to do great. So, that's what I want to see 7 achieve, and that's what I think my changes would get him to be in, but again, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. But with that being said, pretty long video again about a discussion, but yeah, if you guys have enjoyed, make sure to, of course, drop a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload from me. And also, if you haven't already, make sure to check out the Twitch and the Discord, both of which are linked in the description down below. We have a wonderful active community of people on Discord, so if you want to find people to party up or just talk about Paladins, then that is the place to be. And I stream regularly on Twitch. Honestly, by the time this video goes out, the PTS is probably already up, so I've probably been streaming that on Twitch, or will be streaming it on Twitch, or have streamed it on Twitch. I don't know. Go over to Twitch and find out, I guess. But yeah, also lastly, if you want to support me, please consider visiting my Nexus at nexus.gg/AndrewChicken. There you can buy crystals, the season pass, and more, and support me in the process. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching. I will see you all next time. Peace out.